Hey guys, R-Pro here, and in this one we're going to be talking about Makefiles and G++. Now that we've got the tools, now I need to teach you how to use them. So for those of you that are using IDEs such as CodeBlocks, Visual Studio, Qt, NetBeans, or Eclipse, whatever, this really doesn't apply to you since you've already got all your tools there and ready to go. But if you're curious, though, yeah, you're welcome to continue watching. It's up to you. But for those of you that want to follow along with me and use PowerShell, command line, or terminal to compile your code, then just stay tuned because I'm fixing to show you how to do all that stuff. And you noticed in the last video, in the description, I had two links. One was for Komodo Edit, and the other one was for Notepad++. You will have to have a text editor to be able to type up your code and save it, of course, and then use either PowerShell command line or terminal to navigate to your file and then compile it in whichever one you're going to use. So you could pretty well use any text editor you want. I just recommended either Komodo Edit because it's not only is it compatible with Windows, it's also compatible with Linux as well. But Notepad++ is mainly for Windows, but you can run Notepad++ no problem in Linux under Wine. It's not too difficult at all because it's pretty lightweight. It's for me, it's always been a lot quicker to use Notepad++, and also considering I'll show you here in just a second, but you can also install plugins to Notepad++ and tweak it to your heart's desire. So let's go ahead and fire up Notepad++ here and show you what a Makefile looks like, and we'll start talking about that. So, like I said a while ago, if you have Notepad++, you can install as many freaking plugins as you want here. I've got a lot of plugins. Some of them I'm playing with, of course, so you may see me do some goofy things in tutorials, basically, because I'm going to try to figure these plugins out on the fly. So, we'll see what happens. So, let's talk about this. What is this thing doing? So I'm going to call these labels. I'm sure they have an official name, but regardless, as long as you know what I'm talking about, we're all good. But you can correct me in the comments below if you want to. I don't really care. But regardless, this label is basically our main label that's going to basically direct the order of how things are going to be compiled, or the order of it. So let's say we're dealing with more than one of these suckers right here, and we have to make a label for each G++ command that we give for each individual .cpp file. And if they have to be in a specific order, you list that order right here. Say main.o needs to be first, I'll list it first. And if I have another source file called if I can type something.o, let's just say, then I can say all this good stuff right here, and I'd say something.cpp, and so on and so forth. And on up here, if I wanted it to compile right after main, I would say I would put it up here right after main. So, and hopefully that makes sense to all you guys out there. This basically controls the order of what gets compiled first and all that. So that takes care of that line. So what about the next one? So of course, if we list a label up here, we have to define a label, and this is what we're doing here. So we're defining main.o, and of course mind the colon here, that's needed. It just tells make that is a label, and that is a tab. It is indented, and it is picky about it. So don't do spaces, use tabs, ladies and gentlemen. It will freak out on you. So this is G++. This is basically our C++ compiler, and I'm sure you already knew that, but I want to go ahead and reiterate that. And what these are compiler flags. So basically these three flags, that's these and this one, is dealing with all the warnings. It's basically giving me all the warnings I need to make good code. And it sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like a big pain in the rump to have the compiler complaining and barking at you all the time, but it's actually a good thing because it's really watching your back. So the more it barks at you and complains at you, the better. It just allows you to create better quality code, real honestly. So what about this guy? What is this? So this is me telling G++ what version of C++ I want to compile under. There's different versions of C++. From the oldest that comes to mind, that would be as close to relevant as possible to the series, would be C++ 98. And I wouldn't recommend C++ 98. It's sort of depreciated, honestly, but if you have to use it, you have to use it. So if I remember to, I'll let you know if there's certain things you can do in C++ 11 or newer, or if you can use it in C++ 98. But in case I do forget, you're better off at least compiling under C++ 11, because most things I do will be compatible with C++ 11 for sure, 100%. Now, I compile under C++ 14, though most of the things I'll do will be C++ 11-ish, but I will do some things that are introduced in C++ 14, I promise you. So that's basically it for this Makefile. We're only going to work with one file, so we only need one label, and we only need one G++ call, just like this. Now, of course, you don't have to use a Makefile at all whatsoever. You can just type this in whatever you're using, PowerShell, command line, or terminal, and as long as you're in the navigated to the directory where main.cpp is, you're good. If you think that's easier for you for now, then go ahead and do it this way. But when we start getting into multiple .cpp files, this the Makefile is going to really come in handy, ladies and gentlemen. So we will cross paths again with Makefile. It's just as of right now, I'm going to be using Makefile all throughout the series, and I didn't want to leave you in the dark as to how I'm doing that. So let's talk about this. What is this guy? This is known as a C++ source file. There's a lot of different extensions you could use. I'll let you look that up. What different extensions you can use as a C++ source file. And the only other extension really that you can have with C++ would be a .h file, and that's called a header file. So you got source files and you got header files. Now there's other extensions as well that will come from the compiler, and we will cross that bridge when we get there as well. Basically making reference to this extension, I'm not even going to talk about it right now because it don't apply yet. So, and I don't mean to sound nasty or nothing like that, I just don't want to confuse anybody. So with that out of the way, that's pretty much a Makefile, and that's how you pretty well create one. So let's go ahead and go to main.cpp and take a sneak peek at this. So this is what we're going to be talking about in the next video. This is basically your run-of-the-mill sort of kind of hello world program. Real simple, doesn't output, shows it to the screen, all that good stuff, nothing special. But I'm going to use this to show you how Makefile works and how G++ works. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll go ahead and pull up command line as well. And keep in mind, once again, these are not administrative command line or PowerShell at all. And also keep in mind, this will also work in Linux as well. Any command I put in here will also work in Linux, but not in Windows command. It's going to be slightly different, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to navigate to wherever my desktop is. You go ahead and navigate to yours wherever yours is at. And I'm going to type ls in PowerShell. The PowerShell has a lot of the same commands, not all of them, not every single one of them, but it has a lot of the same commands in as Linux terminal, whereas Windows command line is, if I was saying a while ago, is a little bit different. So you'd have to use dir and Windows command line. Now what I'm looking at here is I'm making sure I navigated to my source file. So if you don't have one, once again, don't worry about it. I'm just kind of showing you how to use the Makefile and how to use G++ pretty well. So this is basically another intro video. So in this one, all I have to do is just type make, since I have a Makefile. And there it is. It ran that G++ command, and once again, I can show you right quick. This is all I really have to do. I don't have to have a Makefile for something, especially something this simple. I can just simply tediously type all these flags out. Like so, and it works just fine. So if we had any error messages or warnings, they would appear after the G++ command, and in the next video I will purposely create warnings and error messages to show you kind of how to troubleshoot that. So that's not really a big deal. So we type, go ahead and show that again, and once again it's a dir in Windows command line. And you see this a.exe. This is coming from our main.cpp. And the reason why it's a.exe is because we didn't really specify the name of the executable, so it sort of gave us a default one. So if you want to go ahead and name your executable, I'll go ahead and make that change in the Makefile. You can use the -o flag. So we'll say -o, and I'll call it something. Just whatever. You can name it anything you want. And I'm not going to give an extension at all. If you when you do this in Linux, it's not even going to give it an extension. Usually you would have a.out in Linux instead of a.exe. But if you go ahead and use -o and then something without an executable, it's going to get in Linux. It'll give you something without an extension, and that's perfectly fine. It will still execute. Whereas with Windows, it's going to give you a .exe extension regardless whether you give it or not. So it's perfectly fine just to give it a name and not worry about the extension whatsoever. So with that change, I can go ahead. Oh, and make sure it's saved, ladies and gentlemen, because it will not work if it's not saved. And I can go ahead and I'm just going to type make again. And go ahead and show that. And as you can see, I now have this something.exe. So we've progressed just a little bit with Makefiles already in this video. And just to show, once again, a reminder, that's how you do it in Windows command. Excuse me. So now that we've got that, and there's one last difference I need to show you between PowerShell and Windows command. Sorry about a dry throat, ladies and gentlemen. It's how to execute executables between the two. PowerShell, once again, is a lot like Linux terminal. You execute executables in PowerShell just like Linux terminal. You use a period, a /, and I can just run something.exe. And that's my virus protector doing its thing. And I can just go ahead and execute a.exe to show you it is the same thing. Voila. Whereas in Windows command, the period / will not work. So instead, you would just simply type in the name in the executable, just like so. And that's how you execute executables in command line. So now we're done with that, because that's the last difference pretty well with that. And guys, that's pretty much going to do it. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about this guy. We'll pick it apart and look at some warning messages, some error messages, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So basically, the next video will be about output. So guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe. If I made any mistakes, please leave it in the comments below. And guys, thank you for watching, and happy coding!